Well, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Kitech Enterprises Modeling One Piece at a Time show. So, that being said, we are now working currently on our Airwolf project. It's made by Kitech. It is a 1/48 scale. And I'd just like to say that this is actually going to be a buddy build because I had Kenny from MindlessModelWorks send me a message asking if he could join, and I say, hey man, no problem. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check her out. First of all, I want to kind of go over real quickly the instructions and how a couple of the steps in the instructions are a little misleading. And I wrote some notes down there here too. There's at least 3 things, possibly 4, that are wrong that we have to correct as we are doing our build. The first step I want to kind of go over is step number 5 in the instructions here. And hopefully we can get it down here with enough light for you. But actually, this B50 part, which shows that it's being glued to the front part of this part B45 that was glued to the front part of the side pod. The B50 is actually a thruster pod, and that actually goes to the rear of the side pod, in the back. So we have to make that adjustment there to make it correct as far as that goes. And like I said, it's for both the left and right hand side. So that's one mistake in the instructions as we are speaking. The next one that's pointed out here is on step number 7. If you can see right here, we have our part number B36, which shows it was showing going on top of the Airwolf, where in fact it goes on the nose piece down here. If you look at the TV show, that's where it shows, and we want to make sure we get it correct. So that's another kind of like little mistake there as well. As far as the machine gun that are glued to the side of the pods themselves, the turrets, I'll call them turrets, but they're actually the 2 smaller turrets are supposed to be on top of the main turret, and which doesn't show that in the instructions. It shows it on the lower half side. So we'll have to do a little bit of some modifications on that as well. So those are basically the 3 things that I find in the instructions that are a little misleading. So we want to make sure that as we're going through, we correct that when we're gluing our parts together. Just a kind of like a quick question for me is when it comes time for putting the windows in, hopefully we can see that. Sorry about the light issue, but the front windows are, I can see them going in, but as far as the 4 windows that goes by the this door here and then the rear window itself, do they really need to be glued in? That's my question, because for the most part, these 2 windows are going to be covered by the side pods. What I would say is I'll go ahead and put them in anyways, because it might help for the stability for it. But this is a modification from I guess a Bell helicopter, and they put the parts on to turn it into Airwolf. So we'll just assume that we'll go ahead and put the windows in. It was just kind of thoughts going in my mind about that. But okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and check out what we've gotten done so far. Let me put some of the stuff away here. All right, and then we'll go ahead and bring this forward and show you my interior cockpit of the Airwolf and what paints I used. And let me kind of back it up a little bit here. All right, so basically I used 5 paints for the cockpit itself. I used the Craftsmark Gloss Acrylic Paint Black, the Ice Blue Folk Art. I used the Flesh for the skin tones, and I also used some of the Folk Art Steel Gray, and I used the X19 Smoke, and that was for Stringfellow Hawk's helmet, because it's basically in the closed position. And I basically also, before I put the smoke on, I went ahead and took a toothpick and dabbed some of the white canopy glue to the opening of his helmet to make it look like a lens cover. And after that was dried, I went ahead and then used the Smoke X19 Tamiya, and I think that came out pretty good. So let me go ahead and bring this forward a little bit, and we'll show you Stringfellow's Hawk helmet. Hopefully you can see that. But as you can see, I applied the little smoke on there, so I think that turned out really well. I applied the Folk Art Ice Blue and some gray as a base for the uniforms, and then I dry brushed the Ice Blue on there, because I looked at some of the pictures of their uniforms, and it was kind of a grayish blue from what I could see. So I tried to represent that with the two pilots. And if anybody had a question why I had the two pilots up in the front, I just chose to do that because since I do have the two figures here, I wanted to show them off in the front. Since there's not much detail in the back, because there's not going to be a console where the computers are for Dominic. And if I put Dominic in the back, he'd be pretty much hidden 100%. So I just want to go ahead and bring them both to the front, because there are, again, some TV episodes where they're both in the front while Hawk is flying the Airwolf. So I just want to showcase them, like I said, in the forward position there. I did notice when I was checking some of the archives of some other modelers, specifically Boyd, when he did his Airwolf, and it was also from Kitech. His instructions were showing the two back seats, especially the middle seat, was actually turned the opposite way around, where they were facing the back seat. But in my instructions, it shows both seats facing forward. So I just kind of went with my instructions there. So just a little bit different, but that's what I chose. Again, as far as the lower half of the flooring up front, where the retractable landing gear goes, there's actually a piece of sprue that was in between the two recessed parts where the landing gear goes in. If I kept that in there, I wouldn't have been able to have this free moving into the retractable or engaged position. So I went ahead and cut that little piece of strut piece out in between the two areas there, and that made me able to move this thing, like I said, freely back and forth. So I have a choice of either having it in the landing mode or the flight mode. So there you go. So like I said, this is where we're at with the interior cockpit. Quick little turnaround. And like I said, I'll have pictures of what I've accomplished so far as a little slideshow during this video. So like I said, that's where we're at. Let me move this back here, and just real quickly, we'll look at the side pods here. I went ahead and glued the thrusters on the back portion of the side pod here where it's supposed to go, and then as I say, as well as I went ahead and glued in the this piece here that's got like an air take, I would call it an air take manifold, lack of a better term, but it does have like a little mesh screen in there. So I will do some paint up work on that and kind of custom blend some paint in there. So you can see that as well. But that's for both sides of the side pods, so you can see that. And then as far as the fuselage goes, a little bit of some flash on it. Went ahead and cleaned it all up, and as well as I went ahead and took these two pieces and glued those together, and you know, cleaned up the flash and made sure that it was positioned correctly. You can see there's a couple little gap areas here. I'll go ahead and take some putty and putty it up and take care of that as well, so it looks nice and clean. But there you have it for the one half of the fuselage there, and I went ahead and did the same thing to the opposite fuselage. And again, this part here comes in two pieces. Glue them together and then insert it into the side of the fuselage here. So like I said, this is where we're at right now in this first episode of the Airwolf. So like I said, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the first episode, and there will be more to come. And like I said, Kenny and I are doing a buddy build, so go ahead and check his channel out at MindlessModelWorks when he has his video ready to go for his take on the Airwolf. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a good day, and we will get back with you soon with another episode of the Airwolf project. Until then, so long. Bye.